Guys, I got a treat for you today. We are at NTEA 24. We're at Work Truck Week, and I was able to persuade a couple of my badass friends. Remember, that's our theme. We got some badass friends here, and I was able to persuade a couple of them to join me upstairs for a podcast, and we're going to just talk to them a little bit and understand what goes into participating and putting together a show like this. And we're going to talk about some of the product innovations that they've brought forth. And basically, we're just going to hang out and give you guys a chance to get to know them. So let me introduce you to two of my badass friends. First one is Brian Heffron. Brian is the vice president in charge of products and everything for North America. Am I correct on that?
On mechanics, trucks, and service.
On mechanics, trucks, and service trucks.
To that product.
And then Clint Weckwerth is also one of the big dogs over at Palfinger, but he's a product specialist. Product manager. So he's the guy that gets all the nitty gritty inner, outer, and just the intimate details of the service body. And guys, when I tell you that these guys did something incredible, I'm not exaggerating. So you guys know I've been with another company for many, many years. I love them. They're great. But, sharp, and what is that expression? Game recognizes game. And I'm telling you what, Palfinger came to the game to play, man. They got some stuff. You're going to see some videos that we produced, but I'm telling you right now, they came to the game to play. But enough about me, enough of me talking. Let me introduce my guys. The first one is Brian. Brian, let's talk a little bit about you. How did you become a vice president at Palfinger?
Well, it started 22 years ago when I entered automotive aftermarket, right? So I was more on the off-road side. I did winches. I did off-road winches, and then I got into the industrial side, did tow trucks, some military applications, things like that. Really liked it, but the company I was working for also had a crane division. And through some changes, I ended up doing both. And I really enjoyed the crane side. Almost as much fun as going four-wheeling every weekend.
Okay.
But then I was approached by Palfinger. It was an opportunity to take something new. It was only about an 18-month-old product at that time. Myself, with Palfinger, get it into the market and grow it into something.
How many years ago was that?
That was 12 years ago last August.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come back to you, but I want to make sure that Clint gets his fair share. So Clint, how did you come into this business?
Yeah, sure. So I actually spent first about 15 years of my professional career with a couple of other companies. I just came to Palfinger just over 2 years ago. But I started out designing equipment, actually. I have a mechanical engineering background. And after, I don't even remember how long now, 8-10 years of doing that for a couple of very large manufacturers, I was approached by the director of marketing to look at this product management role within that organization. Got a lot more exposure to the business rather than just having your blinders on, focusing on a design of something new. You get to go out and you get to work with the end users, the salesman, the customer, and then bring all that back and try to get it throughout the rest of the business, make the rest of the business understand the importance of what our products do for the customers that use them. So whether it's engineering, operations, quality, supply chain, my role, I get to work with every single area of the business. And again, 2 years now with Palfinger, and I couldn't be happier to be here.
So one of the things that fascinates me about this industry is that so many of us come from various backgrounds. We don't all grow up in the service body business. We learn these trades, almost through osmosis, just by, being exposed and doing them. But I want to go back in time to when you were younger, in case there's younger guys that are listening to the podcast, and I hope there are. What are some things that led you to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that you now have? Like, go back to when you were coming out of high school or going into college. What about you, Brian? When you came out of high school, what was your how mature were you as a high school graduate?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Not a bit. No, I had to grow up and learn maturity. I had to be able to identify my opportunities and take advantage of them. And that was the hardest thing probably in my 20s, was realizing the opportunities when they were there and taking advantage of them.
So how did that happen? So what are you doing? Describe for me who Brian was when he's 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. What what were you like, and how did you miss opportunities? And then how did it click in? Like, what was that magic moment? And the reason I'm asking is because I imagine that there's a lot of guys that are doing something they really don't like doing, and they don't see the future, and they may be missing opportunities that are happening right before them. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
So how did you take advantage of your opportunities?
So for me, it was learning to fight through the adversity of not enjoying what I was doing and to see what the company offered as a whole. Maybe I wasn't where I wanted to be in that company. Just to find that outlet of where I wanted to be, and then make myself invaluable to that side and start working towards that.
So what about all these guys that quit? I mean, now it seems like as soon as things get a little rough and things aren't going the right way, the guys are just bailing. Are you seeing that, or has that always been the case?
I think that's been forever. It's just the person and their willingness to either see it through to the other side, if they can see what's on the other side, if they have the vision of what's there. It's not always a shared vision.
Okay, what about you?
I guess I would just add to that, don't be afraid to, if you see that, let's say you're working in purchasing. I'm just picking something, right? And it's not the most fun. It's just the same grind. You're chasing parts, you're chasing suppliers. But you're kind of interested in the finance side of it, like cost accounting maybe. Don't be afraid to go talk, and you'll find out pretty soon. People like to talk about what they do if they have a chance and an audience that wants to listen. And that's a good way to explore, okay, now that I know what that person does, maybe I actually don't want to say anything bad about accounts. That was an example. But no, back to your original question, Kenny, I'm going to go back a little farther than high school. Okay. I spent a lot of my summer as a youth, early grade school, middle school, out on my grandparents' farm. So I grew up in southern Minnesota, and both my folks worked full-time, and it was, I don't want to call it babysitting or daycare, but get out there and go help grandpa. And I don't even know if I was 10 years old. I needed something to do, so he handed me, believe it or not, a Clinton chainsaw from like the 50s that hadn't run in a long time. And he's like, you're going to have that running. I want to see you make that run. I
had no clue.
No clue.
There was no Google.
There was definitely no Google.
There was no YouTube.
I got to learn real quick what a diaphragm carburetor was. I didn't even know what a carburetor was. But he stepped me through, he'd take that thing off, and then I'll be back in 20 minutes to check on you. And he worked me all the way through it. We put a new spark plug in it, and I got that thing turned, and it ripped. It was so cool, right? And that's what got me interested in the mechanical side of things. And then in high school, I was pretty good with math. And so the two just kind of ultimately ended up meshing together that, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to check out mechanical engineering. I actually graduated agricultural engineering with power and machinery emphasis because I had some friends in that program, and it was a lot more my style, big, heavy equipment, like the labs we would do in college. If you were in the mechanical engineering side, it might all be instrumentation and stuff. We literally got to go drive around a sprayer, like what you see in the fields, spraying crops, and tear that thing apart and put it back together. So it was a lot more hands-on.
So the thing that I'm hearing, and this is a common denominator, and for those of you that are listening today, is pay attention to what your kids show interest in. Don't, in other words, am I right? If you see the kid tearing apart a machine, don't scold them.
Yeah.
Help them. Give them another machine to tear apart and put back together, because they're kind of telling you what their aptitude is, right?
Yes.
So you obviously went to college to become a mechanical engineer. How about you?
So how I got into this, really, I was a buyer for Lucent Technologies.
Okay.
I got laid off when they sold out to Celestica, and I got a call for a customer service position. And, it's kind of a level field. So I took the opportunity, and as I'm doing it, I'm taking orders from distributors and dealers and that kind of stuff. And I'm just naturally start upselling. Say, hey, did you think about this? Did you remember this? You're buying this. We got.
You did this on your own. No,
this is how I got into sales.
Okay.
Was that got noticed.
Okay.
And that's just, I just had a natural ability, once I knew the product, to just how to say, look, don't forget, this is here. This is part of it. This is part of what your customer is going to need in the end too. It's like selling a mechanic's truck and then saying, oh, hey, do you run air tools?
Yeah.
You might need a compressor.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing that I love about this industry is that you guys, all the guys, I met thousands of people over the years, is that every single person imparts a little bit of their personality on me and shares their experiences. And it's kind of like this collective, almost like a 3D printer. I'm being printed with all the things that you guys are sharing with me, and it's making me a better person. And what I'm trying to do with this podcast is I want to give an opportunity to lay some of your layers on these guys so that they're not bored and they don't think that what they're doing is a dead end, because the common denominator that I'm hearing is where you start isn't always where you're going to end up, right? So would you agree with me that you got to just show up, that's part of the challenge? Just show up, right?
Show up.
Just show up. Just get there, be on time, do your job, do it to the best of your ability, and show up and keep your eyes open, right?
Yeah.
Pay attention to the opportunities. Okay, so that's a little bit about your background. Now, because this podcast is about the whole person, and we're not just talking about service trucks, are either of you guys married?
Yes.
Okay, so how the heck did that happen? How do you meet the right woman in light of your job? And did you find that their relationship enhanced your work, or did it detract from it? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd say I was in my late 20s, and it was my sister's college roommate, and I met her at graduation.
Okay.
And just made me want to be a better person.
Okay.
Made me want to be more than what I was. I saw a future with her. I saw these, and I'm living in Ohio. She's down in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
It was a long distance relationship. We'd meet weekends in Charleston, the halfway point in West Virginia.
Okay.
So, yeah, honestly, that woman made me want to be a better person. And I know that's cheesy coming from the movie line or whatever, but I think I even wrote a note of that one time.
Okay. How about you?
Smooth operator.
What about you, Clint?
Yeah, so my wife and I met in college just through mutual friends. One of my best friends that I met when I was in school, his sister's best friend is now my wife. And so that was how we met. Same thing, 2.5 years long distance when I got my first job out of school before she graduated. And at the time we were dating, so I took the job, ended up dating. She ends up on the other corner of the state, kind of. And so for 2.5 years, we did the exact same thing. Finally, the decision was like, we either need to figure something out, being one of us moves, or just call it off. And neither one of us were going to call it off. We just knew, I hope that she makes me a better person. I feel like she does. I'm not as sappy as Brian. I'm not but no, she definitely makes me a better person. We do have 2 wonderful daughters that maybe this is a life lesson as well. I used to be very short-tempered, with coworkers, not yelling at people, but if somebody says, I'll have it done by Tuesday, and you ask them on Wednesday and they still haven't started it, that was unacceptable for me.
Okay.
And being snappy, being, just intense about things at the time for me seemed like the right thing to do because it drove them to get something done. But I found out through time, that's actually career limiting. I didn't receive promotions back in the day. And the reasoning was, you're a little too hot-headed, man. You got to learn how to work better with people. And again, not saying I was getting in fights, fist fights or anything, but
sure.
It's not always what you say. It's how you make that person feel. They're going to remember how you make them feel. And so anyway, that was just a side comment that popped in my head. But the kids made me more patient is where I was going.
Yes.
I'm going to add my 2 cents worth here because you mentioning hot-headedness brings a memory to bear, because I was a finance director at a large Ford dealership. And in being in a dealership environment, there's always this what's important now, this win philosophy. You're always working on the now. What have you done for me lately? And we're constantly pressuring each other on our ego boards to be number one, to be and this drive. And this is, pre all the cool technology we have now. But the receptionist would take messages, and as a finance manager, I may have a bank calling me, I may have a customer calling me with a STIP. The only way of communication we had are fax machines, and these messages were critical to me, and it would drive me crazy when the receptionist would say, hey, you had a call from a blankety blank, and she wouldn't get the name and phone number. Like, she wouldn't get me the information. And I just thought that was such a basic tenet of your job responsibility, get the phone number. And I get so mad, right? And one day I just lost it, just blew up, temper just, and I go to talk to my general manager, what's the matter? And I go, you need to fire that lady because she's completely frigging worthless. She's useless. Get her out of here because she's costing me money and I'm so important. And I felt self-righteous because, it's a nickel holding up a dollar, right? And he puts his arm around me and he walks me to his office and he goes, when's the last time you bought her a cup of coffee? When's the last time you bought her flower? Did anything nice for her? When's the last time you just told her she looked like? When's the last time you even acknowledged her? And I looked at him like, well, I don't get it. And he goes, you make more probably in an hour or in a day than she makes in a week. I think that was the ratio. You make more in a day or in an hour than she makes in a week. And you've never once taken the time to treat her like a person, to say thank you. I mean, have you seen that job at the switchboard? Do you see how many calls she gets? And have you ever? And it was like this epiphany, he just changed my whole look and my whole attitude. And then I looked at her as a different person and then it just changed me forever. Joe Weir, if by chance you happen to be listening to this was one of your key leader moments for me, because you imprinted on me at that point to take the time to say thank you to every single member of your team, because you're only as good as everybody else on the team. So anyway, that was a little Kenny segue. So let's get over to the Palfinger story. So now here's my observation of Palfinger. I was with a competitor and y'all had junk. You couldn't hang with us, man. You couldn't hang with us, man. I almost felt pity. Man, you poor guys got to settle for a Palfinger. And I didn't really know about it, but I'm kind of, hoity-toity, kind of stuck up. And I'll be honest with you, the Pal Pro 43, it was a decent body, it was just kind of run-of-the-mill, and it was adequate, price point was there. You guys did something nobody else could do. You could build a bunch of bodies in a hurry. And so when the rest of us were struggling, with capacity, you guys were cranking them right out and you grew the market share. But I came to the show and I came over to your booth and I was checking it out, and Brian looked at me and, he saw I'm independent and he goes, I'll show you around. And then he showed me the new body, with the Pal Pro 58?
58, yep.
Pal Tech 58 Tech.
The crane is a new Tech Series crane, but it's a Pal Pro 58 package. Yep.
So I'm telling you guys, it's a game changer, man. I'm just telling you.
You got to think, 14 years ago when we came out, Palfinger was the leading edge. It was lighter, it was longer, it was stronger than any of the competition, and it had that finite finessability and control that nobody's been able to match since.
Okay.
That was the start. The tech takes that to a new level.
It does. It's fantastic. And the podcast today isn't about product. It's telling you guys that, okay, I was a little, like, you learn.
Biased too.
Yeah. A little biased, but I'm telling you guys, it's a quality product. And I think that they deserve a look. I mean, I'm telling you, and I don't have an axe to grind. I don't have a pony in the race. I don't have a dog in the show. I'm just here advocating for you guys, looking out. And I'm just telling you that what struck me about Palfinger is just, it's a quality organization, just quality people. Just there's a lot of empathy, in other words, there's not a lot of, and when you're at a show like this and they got all these guys here, there's some stuck up folks, that, and they think their poop don't stink, but, we know otherwise. But I got to tell you that you guys have been fantastic. And I really enjoyed spending time in your booth. That truck you guys built for Wanabara, Lord have mercy. That's going to be some excitement when guys get the chance to see that up close and personal. So the one thing I want to cover today in the podcast that I want these guys to appreciate is the fact that how do you guys see mechanics, like the end users? Are you strictly looking at the procurement purchasing people? Are you trying to please them? Or do you actually, do you care about the individual that has to operate that truck every day? What's your true attitude?
Yeah. So it's the guy who's got to operate it.
That's who I care about.
That's who I care about. That's who. And in fairness, there's buckets, right? Operator comments. That's number one. Then there's the fleet manager, safety manager, and all those are important, right? Because they all go into the decision of what to purchase. The operator to us is the most important because they're the one who lives their life by that truck.
Right.
If they're not happy with the way it performs, if they're not happy with the way it holds up, it doesn't matter because they'll scream and yell. And fleet manager can be my best friend. If he's got 50 guys that say Palfinger sucks, Palfinger's not getting in there.
Right.
So it is the operator.
It's all about the operator. I mean, and I'm not, again, this isn't selling Palfinger.
Yeah, sure.
If you check out the video the walk around we did this morning, we went out, we talked to the guys in the field, and the first thing we noticed was they're strapping extra lights everywhere.
Right.
Because when they're working in the dark, it's dark, they want lighting. That was the number one thing we heard over and over and over. And I guarantee, and I don't have a problem with it, our competitors are going to copy what we did this.
Sure,
I'm fine with that. Because, well, I'm not. Because
there's no IP on a light.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is, getting the feedback from the guys using the trucks, to me, is infinitely more valuable than the big wig who happens to have the checkbook that walks into the booth.
Sure.
So those are the guys, and I can see the difference when you walk into the booth. Those are the guys I try to run and talk to.
Yeah.
I'm not selling him anything. I don't have to sell.
Sure.
That's his job, right?
Yeah.
And the team around me. My job is to understand what do these guys actually care about. And those are the conversations that luckily we get to have when we come to everybody's like this.
Well, you know what? I can honestly say that one of the beauties of my prior employer is that they were very much the same, had the same philosophy. And it was a pleasure, working there, bringing new, cool, innovative. We could literally be talking to a guy one day and have his idea in production, 6 weeks later. That's the type of response that we did. But you guys did something that I haven't seen a major manufacturer do the way that you did. That comprehensive change you did to this body is literally a paradigm shift. It's a significant movement away from the way things were done in the past. And I think you guys did a remarkable job. And I think you deserve to get credit for that, because when the people see it now, it's not on the street yet. We got a little time before it hits the street, but I think you're going to get a very favorable response from the marketplace. But that being the case, what's it like working for a company that's headquartered in Europe? How does that work?
Well, it's easy because they're in Europe and we're here. If only, right?
Yeah.
No, I'll start. You can jump in at any time, but I enjoy it because obviously a very large company is a very large resource. And the things we did with this new product, we couldn't have done elsewhere because all this came from another division.
And 90 years
of experience building cranes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that our audience may not be aware of. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Palfinger. How long has Palfinger existed? Tell me about the company globally. Who are they? What are they?
So it's I think about 93 years now. I want to say 2020, 2021 was the 90th anniversary. So global manufacturer, actually, I believe by unit volume, the largest crane manufacturer in the world.
Okay.
So knuckle boom's number one, and build them, sell them all over. Then there's other divisions like hook lift, lift gate, roll off, aerial work platforms, bucket trucks, the big, and at one point a
truck on a forklift,
90 meter tall, 100 meter tall aerial work platforms. Us little service truck guys.
Yeah.
Liftgate's marine division. There's a whole marine crane division and boats and davits division. So it's a very large company. So it's a lot of resources. And they do something that I think is very well thought out, is they have centers of excellence for the different areas. They have a hydraulic center of excellence. They have an electronics. They think HMI falls, human machine interface falls under electronics. Remote, they have a remote center of excellence, so the remote control systems.
So that means that even though you're just one division, you can still access the resources and development tools that have been impacting the knuckle boom division or another division. So you can take that technology and apply it to you, so you can come to market quicker, and that stuff's been tested.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing, is it's been tested and proven on, granted, it's a different platform, it's a different look, it's a different feel, but as long as we're utilizing it the same way, we already know that it's going to work reliably.
Right.
I always remind people, our product is what goes out to fix other things when they're broken. Our stuff can't break.
Right.
Right? I mean, it can, but we need the uptime to be as close to 100%.
So no company's perfect.
Yes.
So where are the areas that you guys have targeted for improvement? Like, what are the areas that you really want to make a difference going forward? You know, so if a guy is listening to our show and he's trying to decide which body to buy, what do you want to tell him or her about your commitment to improvement? What kind of things are you thinking about doing?
So I'll go first. I mean, one of the biggest things that I can do for Palfinger is to establish that process with our design teams, whether that's the small team we have locally for our product, or whether we need to tap and reach out to the broader, the COEs, that thing, and get that rhythm that I know. I've done it in the past, and I've seen other companies do it. Not saying that we're not doing it well, but I feel we could do it better than we're doing it today. And now I am going to plug something. And I hope the other companies copy this idea. We have our operator pool. Mm-hmm. We talked about it this morning. I would love if that got flooded, because that's going to be, Brian, our sales team, even our distributors. There is no way on earth that we could get out and touch and talk to every single end user. We do our best, and we have our really good partnerships and the key places we'll go if we need quick feedback. But this is going to be one way that even if you're not running a Palfinger truck, you could join this operator pool and throw feedback into there. We're not going to share your feedback with our competitors.
Sure.
But it's the only way we're going to keep coming up with, whether it's a real small thing that drives you nuts, or it's, you know, if this thing had 2 extra feet of reach, I'd buy it every day.
Okay.
You know, like getting that feedback is just...
So it's kind of like a voice of the customer.
It's giving the operator a voice, a direct voice.
Okay. And it's not just given to some intern, you know, who files it. It's actually something that you're looking forward to getting. Okay.
Palfinger takes the voice of the customer very seriously. There's whole teams,
Yes.
product divisions dedicated to that.
Okay. What other areas do you think that you can stand to improve? Like where you think you can make a significant, you know, marked improvement in your day-to-day operations?
Of course, capacity. I mean, for anybody that's actually buying one of these, it's not just our lead times. Industry lead times in general are stretched out their ways. I'm not going to speak to any plans that we have. And then for me personally, it's always quality. And not that we don't have a quality product. I truly believe we have one of the best quality products as delivered. But you can always find something. And just driving that mindset into whether it was a mistake that somebody actually made during the assembly process, or a design issue, whatever it is, a sense of ownership and a sense of urgency to correct it, take pride in it, and don't pass along a defect, because all you're doing is making somebody else fix it for you.
Right.
And not saying that our guys and gals out building these things are that mentality, not at all. But every day, if we can just keep getting a little better, it's gonna make it better for the end user.
Am I correct that you guys use a distributor model? So you don't have a direct-to-consumer model. You go through a series of distributors or upfitters, right?
To market, especially at volume.
Okay.
Being an upfitter has to get spread out.
What are you doing to address that issue? Because they are integral to the success of your overall mission. Because if they drop the ball, it doesn't matter what you guys do, because that last impression is coming from the upfitter, right? So what are some areas where you think that you guys are planning to address in the future so that an end user that's thinking about buying a particular body?
Well, can I tell you what we're doing now too?
Sure.
Okay. So
Sure.
We have a team on our service side, and this is strictly for our Palvro product, right? Not all the other stuff we described. They're going out, and it's not every week, but they pick a distributor and they show up and they do an audit on our installs. And again,
Surprise audit. Not a,
planned, but it's not going to be planned. It's not going to be planned far enough in advance that you can
make a significant.
clean the entire shop.
I got you.
Yeah. But all the way through, from start to finish, watching, helping, like, oh, by the way, that's not how you're supposed to route that hydraulic hose, all the way through to the final, actually, when they hang a weight on the crane and set up to do everything. So making sure that they're doing those final tests.
So are you keeping track of the KPIs? Like, are you taking the results that you're getting when you do the assessment and giving them an honest report card and getting that feedback to your team and saying, look, this is an area we're deficient. We need to do a better job here.
Yes.
Okay. So
We do that with every visit. There's a full feedback, and it's usually back and forth a couple of times too, because we want to follow up on the information we've given them.
okay.
So we want to make sure it's being done the correct way.
So
Palfinger sees, but we also, real quick, we also monitor our warranty and all of our service calls on a monthly basis. We put out reports to the team. I get reports from our service team of what the calls were, what the problems were, and we track every one of them. If we start down to the part where if we start to see any trend, we immediately jump.
okay. So as I understand this, you understand the importance of not just pumping out as much product as you can, that you're in it for the long haul. It sounds that the general impression that I get is that you guys are here to stay and you're going to dominate. That's your goal, right?
Yep.
Okay. And it's a very competitive marketplace, and it's really interesting that so many of the different players are all doing a fantastic job. There isn't really a horribly deficient player because they would get weeded out. But I can say that my impression, I'm so glad I took the time to do this because you guys have really opened my eyes to your brand, and I feel comfortable now in talking to the member, the community, and say, nah, man, I don't think you have any problem buying a Palfinger. I think that they're a quality product, and I think that they'll do a great job for you. And, you guys have you now are in an elite subgroup in my mind. And I like to think that people, are going to pay a little attention to, what KJ says. And I just think that you guys have done a good job, and I just want to applaud you. So listen, I know you guys are busy. You took time off your floor, and I really appreciate it. And I'm not going to keep you here forever, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking a few minutes to come up here and talk to our audience of mechanics and technicians and shop owners, and let them know that you actually care, because that's the only reason you came up here, is to talk to these guys, right? You didn't come here and hang with me. You came to talk to them, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So before I let you go, is there anything you could think of that we should let these guys know, about Palfinger, or anything you guys want to share?
Like I said, I would, and it's not just so that we can, boast about how many people we have in this operator pool. It's that feedback loop. You can lose a lot in translation. What I mean by that is the end user tells the fleet manager tells the distributor tells the factory salesman tells me, I tell engineering. Next thing, you just wanted a pop rivet and then gave you who knows what.
I got you.
Licorice.
Yeah, I got you.
So having that direct feedback, I would love to see numbers there.
Okay, so guys, that's Clint's wish. Okay, so you Google Palfinger operators.
Yeah, now I can't remember the exact name of it. It's not operator pool, but if you can get that far into a Google search,
we'll find it for you.
We can find it on the main page of the website.
Yeah, or you just you'll put a comment to our page, and we'll find you. We'll get you a link. Yeah. But it's not just limited to just guys that are running Palfingers. If you're running a service truck and you see something that you think should be improved upon, that would make either it safer, smarter, more efficient, more reliable, whatever, this is an opportunity for you to have your individual voice heard by a company that, who knows, you might be instrumental in saving a life one day. All right. So the takeaway here is that We've got some great companies that are coming to you with great products that are actually concerned about your well-being, and they're trying to deliver you a quality product at a great price and great value. And I'm so thankful that my guys, don't think I got some badass friends. They took a few minutes and hung out with me, and I can't thank you guys enough. So unless there's anything else,
Bye, Palfinger.
all right, you guys, peace out. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenny.
Subscribe right now to Service Trucks USA on your favorite platform so you'll never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Service Trucks USA. That's Service TRUX USA, where you'll get even more great content, discussions, and resources related to vocational service trucks. I look forward to getting to know each of you better. Until then, keep your fingers dirty and your nose clean. This is your guy, your man, your dude, KJ, signing off.